What's going on, guys? Pretty big news coming at you. Fat Shark did a stream just yesterday revealing the new Bardin class. They're officially calling it the Outcast Engineer. I think this is really cool. I mean, there were only going to be two options that it was going to be. It was going to be either the Runesmith or some form of an engineer. And they, of course, went with the engineer. So that's interesting. A little bit about the lore of engineers in Dawi society. The kind of the head dwarves, the top of the food chain, if you will, are the Longbeards. They're older, they're very conservative, they're obstinate to progress, to change, and the engineers are they're always tinkering, they're messing around with inventions, they're constantly creating new inventions, and the Longbeards are constantly opposed to progress of any kind. But on the flip side, it is the engineers that supply the keep with weapons, with ammunition, armor. They build all kinds of technology and fucking grenades and things that they can use to fight off foes. So they're very useful and critical to the dwarf society, but at the same time, they're kind of shunned and resisted against with their progress. So the name Outcast Engineer kind of suggests that Bardin did something to get himself kind of removed from society, whatever society he was in. His keep, he did something, and he's out. He's no longer a part of that society. So these keeps, they have schools, right? There's schools for these engineers, and Fat Shark definitely described him not finishing school, so he might have done something either on accident or on purpose to get himself expelled, if you will. So he's kind of out of the loop there. If you'll notice, he's kind of decked out in this pretty cool brass leather armor. It's interesting. You take one look at it and you're like, that's an engineer. There's no doubt. It looks really cool. It's got kinds of cogs and steam and all kinds of crazy things going on. To suggest that he, to make him look like an engineer. It looks really cool, and I like it a lot. If you'll notice, he's kind of got like a chain around his arm. The devs described this part of him as a mechanically reinforced arm, and as you can see, he carries a Gatling gun. That is his ultimate for this career is the Gatling gun. So I'm sure that is to be able to wield such a heavy weapon all the time and carry that around. You need some kind of super enforced arm there. If you'll also notice, he's got gray hair now. So they definitely described that as being stress related. So, in dwarf school, if you do something to mess up bad enough, you can get punished by the Longbeards. There's various forms of punishment. I'm not going to get into them all, but they can last for however long they choose to make them last, and that could have contributed to the insane amount of stress Bardin has gone through, and that's why his hair is now white. I don't know. It's interesting to speculate about, I think, though. As far as the class goes, the Outcast Engineer has two new weapons. That is a hammer and a pistol, and the hammer's kind of two weapons in one. It's got your hammer on one side, and then kind of on the other side, it's like an axe. So the charge attacks would use the axe part of the weapon, which would be kind of like overhead, downward motions, good for headshots. And then the light attacks would be like these uppercut kind of motions with the hammer. Looks pretty interesting. The pistol is just kind of like an interesting little range weapon. Seems to be pretty accurate. Which is nice. It has an alt fire mode where I believe you can shoot all 6 bullets at once, if my memory is correct. And then his ultimate, he uses a Gatling gun. So he can kind of crank it to fill up like his purple bar, his ultimate. It doesn't work on like a cooldown like every other ultimate. You crank it to fill the ultimate bar, and then when you shoot it, it goes down. If you crank it too much, like he'll burn his hand and steam will fly up or whatever. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting. It's really different, and I think that's kind of prepping people for Darktide a little bit, because it's going to be such a range-focused game. This is a very range-heavy class. So yeah, he can also hold up to 3 grenades at once. That's, the grenades in game. If you have different types of grenades, you just push the grenade button, and it'll kind of cycle through them. is how they describe that. There are 3 weapons of Bardin's that he cannot use, however. That is the dual axes, the crossbow, and the throwing axes. That means that he can use the Drakefire weapons, which I have been so ready for a long time. I've been waiting to use the Drake weapons on another class, so this is excellent. So the Drake gun, the Drake pistols, he will be able to use those. So yeah, this is Outcast Engineer. He's coming November of this year, so probably like 1 to 2 weeks from now, max. Might even be sooner than that. Who knows? Chaos Wastes are coming in December. That's the plan for now. And there you go. Take care, guys.